Hello and welcome to EB5 Investment Report. I'm Amy Rios. Recently, we attended the EB5 Regional Center Development and Investors Procurement Summit hosted by Artisan Business Group at the Doubletree by Hilton in Los Angeles. The seminar focused on trends in the industry and what to expect in EB5 for 2014. We were able to speak with many of the seminar speakers and attendees about some EB5 hot topics. We're here with Brian Sue of Artisan Business Group. Brian, can you tell us about this event today?
Well, for last 6 months, we have not conducted anything around the country. So this is the very first EB5 seminar for the last 6 months. We hosted. I think this is great. We have very good crowds, people coming from as far as Guam. Yes, so we're very happy about it.
Now, what is the purpose of an event like this?
The whole purpose is to help people understand what EB5 program is, okay? Because there are a lot of misperception and a lot of negative media report about the program. We're trying to help people understand this is a very good program for business to raise capital overseas.
Now, can you tell us about some of your upcoming events that you have for 2014?
We are planning at least about 10 events around the country and in China next year. So it's going to be a very exciting year in the Year of Horse. We are having a seminar coming up in Las Vegas on February 5th, 2014. Then we're also promoting the largest EB5 trade show and conference in China, which is 2014 Invest in America Shanghai Summit in March.
Brian, can you tell me what you foresee for the future of EB5 in the Year of the Horse?
I think in 2014, it will be a good year for the EB5 program. Okay, we have seen more and more regional centers to be approved by the USCIS. We have seen a very strong interest from Chinese investors in the EB5 program. So we are very confident that the investors from China will continue to invest in good projects in the United States.
So do you think the backlash from the Chicago case has died down in China? I know it was big news and it kind of scared some investors away after that project failed. So has that turned around?
Well, yes, I think so. I think nowadays the Chinese immigration agents and investors, they realize how important it is to conduct due diligence before they invest.
So we're seeing more due diligence done by everyone across the board?
Yes, that's true.
We're here with Michael Homeier of Homeier & Law. Michael, can you tell us about the climate of EB5 and where you see the program heading in the coming year?
Well, the climate for EB5, I think, remains very strong. There's continuing huge interest among U.S. businesses that are still struggling to access capital in the United States. That's married to a huge wave of interest from overseas. People who want to come here, get their children here, have the opportunity to start new lives here in the United States. So it's the perfect combination of the need and the desire. At the same time, there are challenges coming up on the horizon. There's increased government scrutiny. There have been some significant folks who've gotten in trouble for misbehavior, and justifiably so. So we're pretty busy saying, look, in this, on the happy side of the ledger, where there's more activity than ever before, and there are more people willing to fund that activity here in the United States, which leads to all the benefits of the U.S. business getting financed, the immigrant getting an immigration benefit, and these are people who typically are successful, entrepreneurial-minded people coming here. That's how they've earned the money to be able to invest. And third, you've got new U.S. job creation at zero taxpayer expense, which is a pretty good deal for the United States. You've got all these great factors that are saying this industry is going to get boosted. At the same time, of course, there are people who we refer to as the kids and the cowboys. Mm-hmm. The kids mean well but don't know what they're doing and probably aren't ready for prime time and ought to stay out of the marketplace until they get schooled. Mm-hmm. And then you've got the cowboys, who are people who know better and are willing to cut corners in order to either do things they shouldn't be doing or possibly even just outright steal from folks. And the government has made it very clear they're watching to make sure that Americans are being protected, that immigrant investors are being protected, that communities are being protected, and they're taking the enforcement function seriously. So we've got both what you would expect in a maturing industry. You've got both increasing success and also government paying more attention to make sure people aren't being taken advantage of.
So, Michael, thus far with the securities, the Jobs Act and the lift on the ban against general solicitation, what impact has that had on the industry as a whole?
I think there hasn't been as much of an impact as we anticipated. We thought that the relaxation by the Jobs Act of the prohibition on mass marketing of not just EB-5 projects, but private money-raising projects generally would result in this huge flood of mass marketing, and that hasn't happened. And I suspect the reason that it hasn't happened is because we have gone to pains to advise folks that, look, the government has said we're going to make it easier on you to do this activity, but at the same time we're going to impose additional restrictions and burdens on you. And so by the time the U.S. business is finished with the good news, then they have to go look at the not so good news, which is the price that they must pay in further compliance with government regulations, additional forms and fees that they need to file and pay. So it's not as easy as, oh, let's mass market and get our investors. They actually have to do a lot more under that change in the law. Many of them are saying, you know what, I'm not going to do under the changed law. I'm going to continue to do business under the old law, which is easier and cheaper and less scary and fewer ways for me to trip up, assuming I'm a well-intentioned person, not a cowboy, but maybe I have a kid tendency. Right, but you know, an innocent mistake as opposed to a bad guy who's in a different world. Many of them are saying, gee, I'm going to continue to play the game the way the game has always been played before the Jobs Act. So we're really seeing people being careful about using the changes in the law to their advantage as opposed to this mad rush, which might have gotten a lot of people into trouble. So we're glad that people are taking care to find out what they're going to be required to do if they go the new route. They're doing their due diligence, which due diligence is our buzzword in the industry right now, our buzz term. People are taking that care, and I think it's going to turn out well for them.
Now, today you're speaking on hot button issues in EB5. Can you inform our viewers what some of those issues are?
Well, one of them is the one we just touched on, which is the Jobs Act. So we're telling people exactly what is it that the law has relaxed, and at the same time, what is it that the law has tightened up so that, you know, the cost and the benefit of these changes. I'm also speaking about broker issues, which are the ones that the SEC has said they're going to be scrutinizing very carefully, which are the twin issues of broker registration and the disclosure of broker compensation. These have been identified by the SEC as real high-profile issues in their minds. So we're telling clients, pay attention, because the government is. And then finally, I think we're going to be speaking about some due diligence issues, the need to investigate, look before you leap, make sure that there's water in that pool when you arrive. And so those are our hot-button issues in securities law for the moment.
We're here with Bernard Wolfsdorf of Wolfsdorf Immigration Law. Bernard, can you tell me what is the forecast for the EB5 industry in the coming year? We've had a lot of negative things happen this past year. What do you see for 2014?
Well, I'm going to use the word we've had a few negative things happen. You can call that a lot. You know, there's always accidents on the freeway, but the traffic keeps running. The year of the horse in Chinese astrology terms is going to be a wonderful year. That's my year, the year of the horse. I'm a horse. It's going to be energetic. We're going to see good things happening. The program has gone through some difficult period in the last year or two, but basically what's happened is the government has tried to weed out what I'm going to call the bad actors. And I think they've done a good job of that, by and large. So, yeah, the bad actors are having some problems, but we now have clarity. We have the May 30th memo, which lays out a really good roadmap. I'm very optimistic for 2014. The biggest issue, actually, that we're probably going to face in 2014 is over-demand. if you look at the EB-5 program, there's only 10,000 visas. So a family of 4 takes 4. That's 2,500 investors if we're talking family of 4. And, we have 6,000, 7,000 a year, 7,000 in the hopper. Do the math, folks. There's going to be a waiting line. So for those people who are interested in EB-5, you had better file in the next 6 months quite directly, or you're going to find yourself in a waiting line that could run 2 to 3 years before you get your green card, which I think is going to be a problem for the program. But in the meantime, what we have right now is we have a bunch of good projects out there. I think the regional centers are focusing on how do we give the money back. That's a new thing, because people haven't been getting the money back the way they should be. And right now the programs are focusing on how do we return the money, how do we make sure these cases are approved. The government has provided considerable transparency. And as you probably know, the adjudication center is being moved to Washington, D.C. under the direct control. And that'll be completed probably in the next 3 or 4 months. And I think we're going to see an improvement in adjudications. Processing time, communication with immigration is better. So, excuse me, I'm Pollyanna Bernie. I'm all positive for 2014.
As far as failures are concerned, you have the sort of famous Chicago case. There, that was straight fraud. I mean, the dishonesty that was in the documentation, a basic due diligence would have taken care of it. People could have just looked at some of the stuff, done a little bit of checking, and found there was no ownership or there was no business plans approved or none of that stuff. So if they had taken the care to do due diligence, they wouldn't have got caught up in that mess. However, they were fortunate. They got all their money back except for the actual administrative or add-on fee. And there I believe there's a story coming out of the people who set that one up, that as soon as they sell the real estate, they plan on paying everyone back whatever they put in. So that will be something to be seen. The others have had varying reasons for going down. Remember, you will always have a business failure along the line. That's part of this program, that the money must be at risk. And any of the guarantees or so-called guarantees that are being given have to be very carefully done so that you don't remove the at-risk requirement of the law. So a lot of creative stuff is done. I don't know how well immigration would approve of it if they knew all about it. We look to disclose what we have in our documents. We've had no problems thus far. The future, well, we've had a rough year. This whole program literally closed down over the last 24 months, and it picked up again around about the May 30th memo, which was a bright light. The brightest light I've ever seen from immigration. Very exciting, very positive, and we've seen some of it into action now, and it's certainly helped adjudication to understanding what we need to file and how we need to file it.
We're here with Jeff Carmichael. Jeff, can you tell me a little bit about your company and your first EB5 project?
Sure. We develop and manage and operate assisted living memory care communities in the Southeast primarily.
Go ahead.
So our first project that we have utilized EB5 funding for is in an area called Rock Hill, South Carolina, which is near Charlotte. Actually, it's across the border, but near Charlotte, North Carolina.
From a developer's perspective, what have been some of the greatest challenges that you've encountered with the EB5 program?
I think just this being our first project that we have worked on with EB5 is just really getting a complete, thorough understanding of the process and the procedures, the timelines, and we spent a lot of initial time developing a good team to work with, which is really, I think, the most critical part.
Can you tell our viewers what makes up a good team?
Well, some of the components, obviously it's an immigration program, right? So you've got to have good immigration counsel to know how to structure your project to make sure it meets all the needs and requirements of the USCIS. You've got to have good securities counsel to make sure that you've provided for all of the proper documentation and compliance for securities. And then you've got to have the marketing capacity in China to have someone to work with, to whether it be China or other areas around the world. So those components are, key to having, I think, a successful project.
Have you encountered some of the slow petitioning times that are so, prevalent in this industry?
I think everyone has encountered that, and I think now you have to go into a project really understanding that and allowing for other types of financing, bridge financing and things of that nature in order to make sure that you've adequately provided a timeline that is realistic, because projects cannot sit and wait, and I think that's the real, probably in my opinion, the largest challenge that any developer for any type project faces using EB5. And so, the need to have bridge financing in place, I think, is really important.
What are some other challenges that you've faced with getting your projects off the ground?
I think the processing time is mainly for the regional center and for the 526. And in this situation, the Stadium Place project is ongoing project, so we started last year in spring. So we have to do the bridge financing to temporarily replace the EB5 for the ongoing project to be going. It's good that the USCIS early May have a memo that the bridge finance is allowed in before it's unclear. Now they said it's allowed in the EB5. I think that's very encouraging because the processing time and for the safety of the investor, we put all their money in the escrow until their 526 is approved. But we have to wait. The downside, we have to wait for a shovel-ready ongoing project. It seems unrealistic, but the bridge finance can, close that gap.
Do you find that the investors you work with are concerned about getting their money back? Or are they more concerned about getting the green card and they'll worry about their money later?
Both. When the investors become more sophisticated, whether they sometimes come to see the project themselves, or they hire professionals to analyze the project. They not only look at your business plan, they want to see your market study, feasibility study done. And I think when they choose the project, they look at both.
So they're doing more due diligence.
Exactly. And was the team behind it, was the project development team behind it for the investment standpoint, and what is the immigration council, the economist, business plan writer, the team behind it to support their applications for the 526. Yeah.
We're here with Kevin Wright. Kevin, can you tell me about what we can expect in the coming year in the EB5 industry?
Sure. Well, in terms of regional center approvals, they've gotten a lot faster. There's a movement to move all the staff to Washington, D.C., which is taking place now. Everything is getting a lot faster. And then in the general marketplace, I'd say that we're seeing a lot more variety in the types of projects that are coming. A lot more oil and gas, a lot more technology, a lot more manufacturing than just the typical hotels and retail development projects we've seen in the past.
Now, I heard a little rumor that that we could see different types of projects, for instance, in the movie industry. Can you speak about that?
Sure, we've had several clients approved in the movie industries in the last 6-8 months or so. And there are a lot of people really looking at it, particularly your larger independent film producers who are really making a push to try and include EB5 in their funding.
Now, can you explain how that would work with, it would be regional center EB5 rather than direct EB5?
Yes, in the movie industry you need to use an economic analysis for job creation because it's not so simple as counting W-2s as movie production, timelines don't work the same way. So they tend to be based on regional centers.
Now, what is the biggest challenge in someone who decides they want to create a regional center?
The biggest challenge currently is, creating a regional center is defined at this point in terms of what you need to do. The challenges are always in the fact that it does take a significant amount of time. Although it's coming down, you can still currently expect at least a 10-month wait before you can go out and raise money, and a lot of folks just don't have the time for that.
What are your hopes? What do you hope to take with you and learn?
Oh, yes. In this event, there's so many professionals, lawyers, experts in EB5, and they talk a lot about all the updated information. Yeah, I like to update myself. It's a very great event to learn all the EB5, and at the same time, I also like to let the industry, everybody know that as agents, what we think, what we want about the project, and the concern what we have, and also I like all the industries, like the regional center, once they come to us to promote their project, and we want to let them know what's our requirement, and we like to do the due diligence or this or that, make sure we promote the project that is safe and we feel secure.
Now, what do you think is going to happen in the coming year of 2014? What do you think the EB5 industry, the climate will be for investors?
Yes, in coming year, since we want to do the due diligence, and I anticipate that all the project, once they go to China, they're gonna have to do the due diligence because everybody is really, really concerned about safety. They don't want to get any trouble on the project. So I'm afraid that most of the project, if they want to promote, they have to do the due diligence, and then all the agents in China, they promote, without any worry.
Artisan Business Group plans to host many events like this in the coming year to help keep those involved in EB5 updated and informed. In March, they will be hosting the largest EB5 event in China, Invest in America 2014 Shanghai Summit. I'm Amy Rios, and I want to thank you for watching this edition of EB5 Investment Report.